Most have received little help in learning to use our anger to clarify and strengthen ourselves and our relationships. Instead, lessons have encouraged us to fear anger excessively, to deny it entirely, to displace it onto inappropriate targets, to turn it against ourselves. This is by Harriet Lerner, the author of The Dance of Anger.
Welcome back to In Her Image, a podcast where we are seeking and celebrating our Mother God through scripture, scholarship, the arts, and everyday life. I'm your host, Kate, and tonight I am joined by a dear friend, and I really feel that the timing of this conversation, has just been orchestrated perfectly for us to invite Jill Freestone to come and share her wisdom with us. Jill Freestone is a certified life coach. She focuses on helping teens and adults handle anxiety and big emotions and has learned so much from her own experiences with those things. Jill loves her work, but her happy place is in the outdoors. She's an avid hiker, biker, and outdoor adventurer. She's the mother of 3 amazing daughters and wife to an incredibly smart and handsome husband, who she adores, especially because he was willing to write this bio. I think I read that, the first one, by accident, but I think it's lovely. So, Jill, welcome.
Thank you so much. It's so wonderful to be here. And I just am honored to have this conversation with you, who really has made a transformation in your life. It's been beautiful to watch.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm just so grateful to know you and have hugged you in person. We're friends, but we've met online and feel like I've known you forever. So we invited Jill because we needed help. As of late, we have received more than one message from some of our listeners about, emotions, anger, I guess, among other things. So I'm going to read some snippets from one of the direct messages that we got on our Instagram account. And if you don't follow us at In Her Image Podcast on Instagram, please do and message us.
It's highly recommended.
It's highly recommended. We love hearing from you. Jill loves it. All right. So our listener says, I so much appreciate the positive, hopeful, and faithful tone of your podcast. I've been on this journey with Heavenly Mother for at least 2 years now. My question for you is, how do you stay hopeful and positive? I'm so discouraged and depressed when I listen to every conference, fireside, church talk, testimony, Leahona article, etc. I try not to get upset, but there is this hurt, longing, sadness, and too often rage that builds up inside. Do you have an episode where you talk about this? And she goes on to say, I want to be patient, but I find myself losing patience. Any advice, book, podcast, etc. you can suggest? So, aside from this message, this is a common concern, is I'm feeling angry and I don't like it. That's what I'm hearing, is a little bit of I'm pushing back against this. Don't want to be angry. So what do you pull out of this at first, Jill?
Well, 2 things as you were reading that. I literally thought of you, and I hope this is okay. Because anger and anxiety are the 2 main emotions that I coach on most, and they're my 2 favorite emotions. And people are shocked when I say that, because they are the most powerful and guiding and instructive. And as I leaned into and embraced those emotions, that's where I gained my wisdom and sovereignty, and I gained compassion and curiosity for other people. It's beautiful. And I have seen you in your vulnerability, rage, in anger, in a beautiful, safe space that wasn't directed at hurting someone or towards someone that wouldn't understand. And I've seen you take that and process it in with a drum or with dance and movement and appropriately process it, but then also to harness that into beautiful words and writing, and you have a powerful voice. And so in just that little example I gave of what I've witnessed, I don't want to use my examples, just me, because I do those things as well. But like I've been able to experience that and see it and feel it. And so when this question is asked, I wanted to give that as a little backdrop, that how do you stay hopeful and positive? I don't know where the writer is at. And that's the question we need to ask. Has she already worked through anger? Does she already love anger, like I've been talking about? Or is she in the place of resistance and thinking anger is a horrible thing and I shouldn't ever be angry, or I should rarely be angry? So we need to ask a few questions and find out, because it's not healthy to stay hopeful and positive all the time. That isn't the goal. And if it is, we need to do some work in understanding why and where that was learned. And, where are you placing your hope and positivity? Because if you place your hope and positivity in something that's impossible versus in your divine parents, it's very different. And so, and like, what is really causing you to be discouraged and depressed? Like, is it because you think like the things you read are true, like true as God and Jesus are true? And so then it's so unsettling. Mm-hmm. Or you're reading it and you're able to kind of question and wonder what's going on? Or is it bringing up uncomfortable feelings and you're not willing to just feel uncomfortable? Like, are you expecting something realistic or inhuman? Like, do you want to be positive about something that's harmful or bad or wrong? Are you willing to say those things? Like, can you be honest about those things? So is there some dissonance happening for you as you're reading spiritual things or things that you've always considered true, and you're feeling uncomfortable feelings? So there's that. And then there's a way to work through all of this and not let so much of it consume you and create this unnecessary and unhelpful rage. But there's also the importance of letting yourself rage and work through the rage and learn from the rage. And so we want to define anger and differentiate between all those different aspects of anger. And then there's also this point of, you don't need to keep reintroducing this emotion when you're over burdening your like I said, your immune system, but your body can only take so much, your nervous system. And so there's a time for you to just take a little bit of a pause and shelter and just regulate your nervous system better, and focusing on that maybe pulling out that article every single day like you have been isn't what's helpful right now. We got to focus on regulation.
Yeah, so much there.
Yeah, I mean, like, we could talk about every word in that question for hours.
I feel like that you did a good job of kind of defining the span of like where anyone could be, that's maybe struggling with this. Maybe somebody feels like, I am 90% of the time I'm filled with rage about the patriarchy or whatever it is, things in the church that aren't right. And so that's consuming me, and it is becoming a really negative thing in my life. Or somebody could be like, sometimes when I go to church, I feel angry afterwards, but I want to feel really happy about it because I used to feel really happy about it.
Yeah.
And I don't like this. And so you could be anywhere on the spectrum there, or you just have this kind of lingering, like, I keep being mad about the same thing over and over. And I feel like it's not, I'm not moving forward with it. I don't know how to turn it into a progression for me.
Yeah. As you said that, something dear to my heart came up, because there was one particular issue in the church related that was very personal. And I had gone through like 3 years of coaching, a year and a half of coach training and coaching as a business and getting coached, and some therapy. And I was like, why am I still angry about this? And I was so upset that I was still resentful and angry. Like, so often I was angry about this one thing. And the beauty of that anger is that it led me to get really honest with myself, and to deal with something that was just, there was so much dissonance. And it actually led to me to get a scrupulosity, OCD, and sensory processing disorder diagnosis, and to learn that the coaching tools for that issue were making it worse. Like the beauty in that emotion of anger, that it was there to tell me something big was not right, and that what I was forcing myself to continue to push against this wall was not right for me. And it's not the answer for everyone, but this has happened over and over again. That when we listen and really lean into it, there is so much underneath this emotion.
Yeah. Oh, well, I can understand why you said you love this emotion, because it's like opened a door of healing for you. Something that you didn't even know was really an issue for you, but you suffered for a long, long time, right?
There's just so much that has been unlocked, and the ability to love myself so much more instead of living in anger and resentment or shame or fear. It shifts to sovereignty and love and acceptance. Something also like this part about, I try not to get upset, but there's this hurt and longing and sadness and like this stuff that builds up. Like it's really important to do some of the work like I did to find out if there's something personalized to your situation. Like, because if you do have something that's not understood, like the kind of, like I was trying to get coaching on this and it was actually making it worse. Like, I'm not saying that's going to happen to everybody, but what is particular to you and why is it happening more to you? It could be all kinds of things. The other is just, really, do you believe anger is good, like we've been talking about? And so where do you stand on that? And I do a lot of work with my clients of transforming the relationship with anger itself. And that takes a lot of work. Another is like, are you willing to process the emotions and move through it? And then this idea of staying positive when church culture is refusing to address some things. I think that, like, really, like I mentioned earlier, like, are you placing your sovereignty in Heavenly Mother and Father and Jesus, or are you placing it in other things? And, without calling out certain things, but like, can you look at the whole history of the church? And when you study and understand certain patterns and history and things, like, it can help you to be more curious and compassionate towards a certain writer or a certain person who gave a talk, or understanding like where they coming from, and like believing they aren't evil, like trying to hurt us, like getting to this, the mindfulness that I teach of like, you have more abilities to have choices when you can get into a place of curiosity and compassion, but you don't try to jump from the emotion of anger to that. And like, oh, I shouldn't be angry, so I should be compassionate. That's like toxic positivity and it's harmful. But they're like, as we move through all those stages of anger, eventually to get to that point, then that can help reduce that rage when you're claiming sovereignty instead of like, what do I do about this problem? But it also can help you to choose what you want to do. Because like anger can lead you to taking action, which is so powerful.
Yeah.
So that's where you can like look for common truths with the person as well. Like they might be saying something in a way completely opposite of what you believe in, but underneath, like, what is there any truth in here that we would agree with, but the entire way they're saying it, I disagree with. And I've had to do that recently with a very difficult talk. And when I found that underlying principle, then I could see this person in a different way, and I could still say, I disagree, but I can see. And that helps me to stop spinning after I processed and did all the work, of course.
Yeah. And I definitely want to get into that how, because I think, I think our listener, at least this one, would love some advice. But before we get into that, I want to talk about like where this anger might come from. Maybe we can offer some validation, because before we started recording, we talked about like, sometimes, we can talk about why we just don't want to be an angry woman, right? Quote, with air quotes. And so we never validate our anger. Nobody ever validates our anger, including ourselves. And that in and of itself can keep us angry. So where does this anger come from? I guess the most obvious thing is having a testimony, feeling for ourselves that Heavenly Mother is in every way as involved and as full of love, and is involved in the creation of us as a Heavenly Father, and yet she's just ignored. That's one reason to be angry.
It's a big one. We could list a lot of them, but I think part of it comes down to, I think, a shift that people make from when we listen to talks and they give us kind of this reason why we should shift back into just faith and just believing, and it's all going to be okay. And somehow that works for us for a long time. And then it's like one day, suddenly that just doesn't work. And that creates some fear. Like, I want to go back to that safe place of faith that I used to have. And what shifted for me was believing that shift was really beautiful and important towards thinking and really understanding that it's not, I thought faith was faith, but it was certainty.
Mm-hmm.
And so moving into this comfortableness that I now have with uncertainty, which is the huge blessing of what OCD is, because the OCD continually makes me want certainty. And I do these compulsions to find it. But the only solution is to sit in the horrible, yucky feeling of uncertainty. That's the only way to stop the spinning, which is what we all need to do to really have faith.
Yeah.
So I think just that little shift that we make is what creates this anger too, because it's so destabilizing. And it makes you angry because you want it to go back to this comfort, and you feel so enmeshed with what you used to believe. And then you, like, I think you said, it was like, well, I just want the church to catch up with me. And like, let's just be comfortable again. But like, that's again, wanting to go back.
Yeah.
And it's impossible. And so as the questions start to arise and there isn't an answer, and you feel unheard, unvalidated, unseen, and that other people will say things like, well, that doesn't bother me, I'm okay, or I don't have that issue. That's where we feel so unvalidated and that something's wrong with us. And then when we aren't seen, the anger just builds of like, either something's wrong with me, so I'm mad at myself for not being able to get over this, or I'm mad at them for saying such a mean thing, or where can I place my anger? Some people place it at God, and then they lose all faith, but it has to be dealt with and reckoned with.
Yeah. Yeah, that was one of my first thoughts to her. Was a revelation to me, was that part of why I was feeling so angry that the church wasn't saying Heavenly Parents all the time was that I had come from a place of being like very enmeshed with the church, and that you probably could give a way better definition than I could, but just kind of in the mindset that we always believe the same thing. If I'm believing the same thing as the church, if I'm in line with the church on all of these topics, then I'm right. Like, that's good. And if I'm ever step out of that, or if I have to differentiate, yeah, I feel safe. And yeah, I felt very safe and very happy as a, fully enmeshed person with my religious institution. And so then when I started to differentiate and think differently and notice like, wait, I don't really agree with every single word in conference anymore. Then I was feeling angry because I missed that, like you said, certainty and security of being in line with the people that I was taught was the most important people to be in line with. And so my anger is at them for not coming and catching up to be enmeshed with me again, because that would make me happy, in my mind.
It would feel safe again.
It would feel safe again. And
that's where certainty tends to make us feel safe.
Yeah.
But the truth is, uncertainty is actually a form of safety because that's real.
Yeah.
Like, uncertainty isn't real. It's fake. Because at any moment when we think, like when we get so mad because things fall apart or change or whatever, it's because we thought it was certain that it was going to go a certain way. But life is never certain. At any moment, something is going to change. we can't know the future, but we spend our life planning the future. And then all of a sudden we're like, but it was supposed to, but according to who and why and what?
Yes.
Yeah. So we live in this false sense of security and safety and certainty, but it's never true.
Yeah. Yeah. So for me, part of letting go of constant anger is the process, and not that I've mastered it, but coming into sovereignty of like, I can be both part of this group and also see things in a different way. And I want to be aligned with God. That's my highest goal.
Yeah. Yeah. I think where you're saying like certain things can cause this anger, I think what's important is just to label what is true to you and like list out all of the things and said, what is true and what is my thoughts? And how do I know it's true? And why do I think it's true? And where am I getting this truth from? And who do I believe gives truth and why? So there's a lot of dissecting we can do. And then after you list that out, you want to validate yourself and have self-compassion that you're even feeling this or thinking this. Because whatever you're experiencing in the present moment is valid. It is what it is. And so if we can accept the present moment, that's going to be another huge step towards moving through anger. Because again, we don't want to resist it or avoid it in any way. So we have to start making the steps to move through it. And so then to choose what you want to do with it, you process it, you learn from it, and you take action. But there's also this grief that you talked about of grieving this sense of certainty. So then the solution is realizing that it was perceived. It wasn't real. Like you had this perceived sense, and that it's actually unhelpful to have that sense of certainty. And so then just realizing that when I let go of certainty, I'm going to have real faith, and I don't have to have all the answers or the right answers. And so you get more and more comfortable with, I don't know, instead of I know what's right. Like, because when we're young, we just say, I know, I know, I know. But truly, if you know, you don't have faith. And so you start to separate that and you make that shift. So you have less fear of God or of messing up because you really start to believe the atonement more. And you really start to believe how God thinks of me or why I'm here. It's you're in a journey instead of I'm doing everything right every day and I've got to fear and repent every day. Like it's a different belief of like I'm experiencing. And so then you'd be more honest with yourself. So that's how you move through that grief and that frustration with that. So you're separating the enmeshment of I'm more directly aligned with God and I feel more whole. But you've got to allow yourself to grieve that separation. And so you've got to find people who fill your needs of connection, people that you can rage with, but it's safe. And, like you want to find ways to connect with the people, but not make things worse. And that's a careful line to look at. And the people that have shifted, like maybe it's family members that have shifted and you feel like you're grieving that loss because you're trying to hang out with your family and they're all talking in a way that used to. Like, how can you connect with these people without agreeing on those same topics? There's got to be other ways we connect that maybe isn't this parts of religion or religion at all, or maybe kind of, I think about, we have family members that we just don't talk about politics with because we know we disagree, but there's so many other parts of our beautiful lives. And so that, and then, if this is with the church, like, what are the things you still connect with the church? And like, how can you allow the church to be where it is instead of trying to play God? And like, when we're trying to play God is when we're trying to tell the church to do what and when, and I'm right and I know better. And man, I've had that thought so many times, like, just come on. So, and I know in the beginning you asked what legitimate reasons are for faith crisis. Like, if you want, like, we could list some of those. Yeah.
I think we covered it pretty good. Yeah.
Fantastic.
I want to know, like, why, kind of going back to this message we were given, like, how did it come to pass that women have such struggle against our own anger? You kind of wrote about that in the notes a little bit, that what we're taught.
So there's So this book, Dance of Anger by Harriet Lerner, it's like a Bible. Everyone should have it. And I wish it wasn't just written for women, but the reason it is because there is a direct teaching against women, and it divides women into like the nice women, the nice lady or the angry lady, and she doesn't use the word angry, but understanding that we have been taught that if you are the angry lady, like you're bad. And it really teaches that. I mean, we have all these names for angry women, but there's no name for an angry man or a man that's angry at women.
Interesting.
And it's quite like eye-opening to see the way that she describes that women in particular, it's threatening. Like their anger is so threatening because guilty and depressed and self-doubting women stay in their place. They're not causing any trouble. And we all resist change. Everyone does. And so if we can help women just do what the patriarchy set up, this system, then we just keep the women doing what they're doing. And we don't want them to be complaining or to be upset. And I know that sounds horrible, but the system has been set up. And so since change is scary and difficult, we're all going to try to avoid that. And we're so comfortable with women being peacemakers. And the system has taught them that because they're nurturing, because women do nurture naturally, so then they tell the women that they have to do that. And we've created the system that the women are doing that so that the women fear their anger because it brings the disapproval of others. So we tend to block or like shut off or invalidate our own experience by saying, well, is my anger valid? Is it legitimate for me to even be angry? Do I have a right to be angry? What's the use of it? What good will it do? So really believing that it's going to cause a problem. And am I willing to cause a problem?
Yeah, the answer to that question, like you said, is it useful? It's like the only thing that comes to mind is like, you will be cast out.
Yeah. You're going to be in trouble.
You're going to be in trouble. You get mad. So
yeah.
It's like, no, can't.
And like my whole life, I grew up believing that too. And I mean, it was in my patriarchal blessing, like so many things about this was for me to be a peacemaker and to not be angry. And like, I did a study this week about the anger in the scriptures again, just to see it, but there's contradictory message of like, anger is okay, but anger's of the devil. And like all this stuff that overlaps in saying that, Satan can have control of our thoughts, but he can't. And, and there's so much conflicting stuff, but it really says that anger is bad and that women should never be this. And it really vilifies the emotion itself, especially in a woman, where we never vilify an angry man. And so in order to like narrow that down of like being able to learn how to process your anger so that you can choose to be a nice lady. And I have that in quotes because a nice lady who has chosen how she wants to act after she's processed the anger and she's used the anger to gain wisdom and she's acting because she chooses to, not because she's like, I just got to be quiet and be nice. Versus an angry woman who got angry. And when I say angry, I hate the way they're calling this because an angry woman can be angry, but she's processed the anger and she's using it in a powerful, calm way. And I don't want to say that it's not okay to be angry. And we need to define the levels of anger real quick. But she mentions that, well, no, this is my own belief, that the way to affect change is to always be Christ-like and to be kind in the method of communicating or taking action. Because if your anger is done in a way that it's hurting someone else, that is not going to help. Like it's not going to move forward change and process. But for you to go and rage and break something and tear apart something in your processing, that's wonderful. But if you're tearing apart someone and hurting them or physical property or stuff, that isn't going to make the action that you're wanting to happen. So we have to define what does it mean? Because we use this word angry inappropriately, or this word anger. Like the venting, like the nice lady and the angry lady, like it protects other people, but it blurs this clarity of self. Like it makes sure that changes don't happen when we have those two extremes. And like, you feel helpless or powerless with either one. Because if you get too angry, then nothing's going to happen. But if you're too nice, then nobody's going to listen to you. And so you feel stuck with either one. You don't feel in control and nothing changes. And so, and like when you just vent, that doesn't fix anything either. So like the solution is, like I said, to separate what is anger, what am I going to do with it, and how to use it.
You just said a second ago, we need to define the levels of anger.
Oh, yeah. Let's do that. So anger, there's the physical sensations. We call it an emotion or a feeling. And that's what your body is feeling, the tightening of the chest, the lump in your throat, the heaviness in your shoulders, the rapid heartbeat, the sweatiness. That is the physical sensation, the emotion. That's what I call anger. All the other stuff is anger, angry thoughts or angry actions or processing anger or grounding after anger or taking an action because of anger. And anger itself is neutral. It is not good or bad. It is a physical sensation that we feel.
Wow.
I call it beloved because I've embraced it. But most people just say, well, happy is wonderful and I just want to be happy. But truly, if I was happy 24/7, I wouldn't know that I was happy. And I have a drawing that I made of the Eiffel Tower that's black and white that I used to teach people with all the little intricate parts. Like if we took all the black out of this drawing, you wouldn't see the Eiffel Tower at all. Every little black part, little line and shape is it. It's that dimension. And not just that we need contrast, but it's what develops us. So physical sensations. And then those physical sensations can come from multiple ways. A lot of like life coaching or beliefs we have is that it all comes from our thoughts, that emotions always come from thoughts. And that is not true. And it's really important so that you don't shame yourself and guilt yourself that every time I feel this anger, it's my problem and that I'm bad.
I'm thinking the wrong thoughts right now.
I am messed up, or it's Satan.
Yeah.
And that's another problem that we've got to look at. We could have a whole podcast about that, but we think that now I have sinned and I let Satan in and now I'm feeling anger. So sin. And it's heavy guilt. And there's a lot of scriptures and talks that can back all of that up.
Yeah.
So believing that it doesn't always come from thoughts, but it can, and then it can be a trauma response to shift into anger immediately. You'll feel the physical sensation before you had a thought. It can be from energy in the room or a physical stimulation in the environment. So again, it's so hard not to talk for like 20 minutes on every topic. Physical sensations, then angry thoughts. Those thoughts, if you have one, can create the physical sensations. Then you have thoughts about the physical sensations. Then you're like, oh no, this is scary. I don't want to feel this. Or I shouldn't feel this. This is bad. Or I don't have time for this. I got to get rid of it. Or there's a lot of those. And so then it could also be, let's move on to the angry actions. That's what you take either while you're angry, like you get angry and you punch someone. Mm-hmm. That's an action right while you're feeling it. Or you see someone that's hurting someone else and you get angry and you protect and save them. And you want to feel that anger. That's really good. You don't want to be like, oh, that's fine.
Yeah. Just like, wait, don't feel angry about this. Just
I shouldn't be angry that he's abusing her, but I want to feel that and I'm going to go save her.
Yeah.
So there's that in the middle of it. So when you have actions that are taken during the physical sensations, generally these are somewhat negative or unkind and somewhat out of control. But when it's a life-saving or preservation, usually it's wise. Mm-hmm. So like that's the two separate things. Then there's the actions that take from anger after you've processed the thoughts and the physical sensations. And that's usually more positive and kind and mostly in control and more pleasant, though some people may respond negatively to how you choose to act. So then there's the processing of the anger, where you're doing things to help you work through it, like dancing or punching or writing or drawing or playing music or drumming. Those are the things that you do to process anger, meaning to allow yourself to keep feeling and working through those physical sensations, letting them be in you, letting them move and shift and expand. And then after you've felt that, then there's some grounding you can do afterwards, because, you know, you're on this big emotion that's come up, and you want to allow yourself to regulate your nervous system back down and do some kind of calming and settling and soothing. So that's kind of the whole big cycle picture of it.
Yeah, I really love how you defined anger as this physical experience, because that just, if I get that in my mind, then I understand like that it is also a physical, I have to process it physically in order to move forward.
That right there is so important because we try to just spend all our time in our head to solve a physical issue.
Yep.
And that's where we have to take all these thoughts we're having about the physical sensation and just gently set them over here to the side for a little bit and say, hang on for a minute. I'm going to be in my body and let my body work through this. And then when I'm down, I've processed down, I'm going to bring those thoughts back up, and I'm in a more grounded space to analyze and look at and make sense of these and choose from a place of groundedness and wisdom what to do with all that.
Some of the things you've taught me and shown me. So when we were together this summer, you brought drums, and we drummed, and we, faced the back of the drum toward others and like let them feel the vibrations of it, but also just banging the drums. But like at home, sometimes I've laid on my back and I listen to, there's so much you could probably find to listen to, but I just thought of like Moana, like the soundtrack. They have a lot of tracks that are like the drumming and stuff. And I was just like pounding on my own chest. I didn't have a drum, but I was the drum. And then I would like turn around and pound on the floor and just like drum to it and punch a pillow. It sounds cliche, but like it's physically necessary and healing. Like for me, drumming, especially on my chest, on my body.
Yeah, I love it. It's very connecting to your own body.
Yeah.
And you're not going to hurt yourself. And I think for me, punching a pillow never really worked, because I thought, like, I kind of felt bad because I felt like I was like, it just made me feel like I shouldn't be feeling this anger, that I need to go punch something. Mm-hmm. Like it just felt wrong. But when I take a pillow and put it on my lap and I drum on it and pound it because I'm wanting to feel that rhythm and feel the pulsing, that feels different.
Yeah.
I'm connecting with this surging energy that is in me, that energy that is the emotion of energy, instead of I feel mean. Like to me, punching felt mean.
It's sort of like I'm pretending this is somebody and I'm punching them.
Yeah, it just, I don't know. I mean, it just didn't for me, and so that's why I have like this long list of like 20 things that you can try, because it's experimentation. Some people will never connect with drumming on a pillow. It's just not going to work.
Can you share more of your list with us?
Oh yeah, sure. Let's see. So learning what your anger story is, and like, that's just like the first thing to help you process. That's the mental stuff. But sometimes people can't process if they don't do some of that mental work first. Mm-hmm. So that's why it's at the top of the list of like, can I even start to think of anger in a new way to allow me to start to do some of this weird stuff? Because people are still in this resistance of like, I still shouldn't be feeling this physical sensation. So transforming your relationship with the anger, and then the self-compassion, the curiosity, the compassion, and then trying these things when you're not angry is also helpful. Just to feel energy move in your body. Because sometimes it can be really scary or overwhelming when you try it while you're angry, because it can like start to expand, or you just might start judging yourself as well. So any way of moving your body, dancing, stomping, walking, running, biking, yoga, kickboxing, shadow boxing, wrestling, push-ups, lifting weights, like anything that can move your body intuitively. And you can literally just turn on music and see how it makes your body want to feel, to move, or you lay on the floor and just start rolling and pushing against the ground, sometimes on a hard floor. That's more useful for people to feel it. um, move the energy. Again, set aside the brain and don't think about it. Just allow energy. Just start feeling your heart beating, touching the places on your body where the energy is. And like trying to visualize your air coming in to that spot and imagining the air swirling around and back out. And like, can you like look inside your body where that place is and really like you can visualize it, you can color it, you can draw it like on paper, grab colors that represent the feeling, turning on different kinds of songs. If you have an instrument that you play, just start free playing or singing different melodies or pitches that express like, I just want to make a song or a painting or a visual clay shape of this physical sensation. Just like let it come out and free. Just writing all the words and then like physically tearing them all up to shreds and burning them and or getting out in the dirt and like making something and destroying it, and like physically throwing it around or to like really hug yourself or wrap yourself in a weighted blanket, get a lot of pressure. Like sometimes I'll ask my husband to just like lay on top of me and like give all his weight down. So it's really heavy. Or slow way down. Like you're talking and you're moving and turn everything off and just see what comes up. Everything outside, like anything you can do to connect with plants and the ground and the dirt. If you need to get into water to help you shift and feel things, energy work, generational healing, breath, tapping, like EFT, grounding, like with anywhere you can get grounded, oils, orienting, like most of these are getting as creative as you can, experimenting. And again, try it with happiness first. Try it with excitement. Like, and it's not so weird, like, oh, I need to go do this thing because I'm angry.
It's just, it's part of the process of becoming embodied again in all your emotions. I think that's like you said, that's a whole other podcast, right? But
Right.
connecting with our bodies again. So I had some thoughts while you were sharing that list. And what I noticed was that there was a lot of like creative energy and there was a lot of like destructive energy. And something that I've learned or observed is that like those are kind of two sides of the same coin. And that so it's really interesting that anger would inspire us to like write something all out, like create something or draw something and then rip it up. That feels cathartic to me. But I was thinking a while ago, this metaphor came to me. My brother used to work doing helping with wildfire fighting. And he was telling me that in a couple of years ago, Utah, like so many of the mountains were on fire and, people are evacuating their homes and everything. And he was saying the reason that we're having such huge and out of control fires is because we've controlled them for so long that like the way that they've been managed is like putting them out quickly. And so what happens is over time, that's contrary to the Earth's natural like cycle of production. So these trees that would have been burnt and gone, and then like compost and become new life. That's
part of the process.
It like have been held back from burning for a long time, and they've gotten drier and drier and more flammable. So then a little fire starts, and we've got all of this stuff that's been sitting there. And now it's a huge fire. And also we're building our houses higher and higher up the mountains where we wouldn't if we were actually watching and like naturally letting.
If we were letting the mountain do its thing.
The mountain do its thing.
Let's let our energy do its thing. Let our body be like the earth.
Yeah, causing like an excess in a way because we've like damned it for so we've like kept ourselves from getting angry or burning down things that deserved to be burned down a long time ago. And it's a beautiful thing because it's not like once a mountain burns or once these trees burn that the mountain is dead forever. It's a part of the earth renewing itself.
Well, I'm thinking of our menstrual cycle and your wisdom that you have with that, and the moon and rebirthing and the mother's wisdom in death and darkness and night. Like, as you were speaking, like, we resist anything that's uncomfortable. And again, that's the symbol of anger is letting ourselves destroy and die something. Let it happen.
Yeah, this in the book Women Who Run with the Wolves, she describes it as a life/death/life cycle. Life, death, life cycle. And it's, we're so scared of this death part because we don't believe that there's life after. But I want to point out, like, Jesus Christ came to earth to teach us this life, death, life cycle. He came as a baby, he lived, then he died. Scriptures say he descended even to hell and came back.
Yeah. He demonstrated it so beautifully. Do we really believe it? And are we willing to experience it? Is the problem there?
Yeah.
And like, yeah, we believe, but we don't want to be uncomfortable.
Yeah. But we're still scared of that uncertainty that when we go into that death period of this cycle or this angry period of this cycle, that is something good actually going to be born from this. And if we keep fighting it, we keep putting out the fires, we just create more kindling for the ultimate, the inevitable wildfire.
I love that you're talking about the tree too as a symbol, this feminine symbol of growth and wisdom, and that a tree, allows that to happen as well. Those fires were right here, right out in my neighborhood here, and it's the place where I would run and bike and hike, and it was heartbreaking to watch. And I've been walking through those places as it's regrowing, and I saw the burn, and it's been a beautiful metaphor to look at. I think one thing that I keep thinking of is we've talked about really embracing anger and learning from it. And like, why would we want to pay attention to anger? I think it's really important to list some of the messages that we can look at as we're trying to ask, like, why is this anger here? What am I believing? What is the history? Who am I listening to? Like, there's so many, like, I have another long list of questions that we can ask ourselves. But I think before you even are willing to ask yourself those questions, just knowing that anger can show us really important things, like that we're being hurt, that's a real thing, that it's not just fake or pretend, like, no, we are being hurt, or that our rights are being violated. And that's real. And we're not used to, as a woman especially, for calling out when that's happening. Like the example that I gave, if someone was hurting or abusing someone else, we want to be angry about that, but we're rarely willing to be angry about our own needs not being met, or even our wants not being adequately met. So we're taught to just be a peacemaker and to just nurture and take care of everybody else, but never ourselves. There's so much teaching in our culture and the church that service will replenish us. And it will make you feel temporarily a little bit better, but it cannot replenish you in the way of just giving from an empty well. It can show you that you're not addressing important emotional issues that are there, that we're skirting over them, that too much of yourself is being compromised in a relationship, like your own beliefs, your values, desires, your ambitions, that you're, again, taking care of everyone else, but your own sense of self is being compromised, or that you're doing more or giving more than you can comfortably give. It can warn us that others are doing too much for us at the expense of our own competence and growth, which is something we're rarely willing to, because we want comfort and just status quo. And just like the pain, like when you put your hand on a hot stove, like that warns you.
Yes.
That physical pain tells you that the pain of anger can actually preserve the integrity of ourself. And some of these lists have come from Harriet Lerner, a couple of these, some are mine, but like, I love the way that she teaches that it preserves your integrity of your own self and having a self. So the last one on her list is it motivates us to say no to the ways in which we are defined by others and yes to the dictates of our inner self. Like, look at all those beautiful things that we want anger to signal to us and say, hey, this is happening. Like, yes. But it's so weird. It has to feel uncomfortable. Well, like, so does birth. So does every month. So does everything. I have to feel really uncomfortable every time I'm hungry. And I'm okay with that. And I have to feel really uncomfortable every time I have to pee. And I'm okay with that.
Yes. Yes. And every time you put your hand on a hot stove.
Yeah. I'm so glad it's uncomfortable.
Or if you break your leg, you're glad to feel that so you don't keep walking on it. And so many
thank you. Thank you, discomfort.
examples and metaphors of that. You talked about a post you shared. This week I was looking at I have a little series of posts about how Heavenly Mother's changed, and that was one of so maybe we can take turns sharing for a second.
Yeah, go ahead.
So my post said, "She has held me while I embraced my own rage and pain. She lifted the ban on anger and told me it could be alchemized. Your anger is trying to tell you something. When the patriarchy dissuades you from being a, quote, angry woman, it is seeking to silence your intuition, telling you something is wrong. If every time you started to feel angry, you corrected yourself to feel something more acceptable, you've learned to drown out the inner voice and turn a blind eye. The way to really silence the anger is to kill the part of you that recognizes injustice or abuse. Thankfully, La Loba, which is an archetype in the book
Run with Wolves,
gathers the bones of our lost self and sings us back to life. When I set out to connect with Mother in Heaven, I received a few times the counsel, don't become angry. I don't have space to write the novel about why I eventually did become angry, but you don't need to be afraid of my anger, and neither do I anymore. My anger is fueled by my love of the gods and their creations. My anger is born of my new understanding of my value, power, and worth. And my anger is a force that, when I bring it to God's lap and ask what they would have me do, moves us all closer to Zion. Anger doesn't have to mean hatred or estrangement. Jesus demonstrated anger's cleansing power in his Father's house."
Let's really drink that in. It's so rich. And the beauty that comes from what you wrote comes because of the depth of feeling that comes through anger. It's so deep. And because we go so deep, we come back up so much, like the black and the white. Yeah, and the burning and the rebirth. So beautiful. The post that I had picked was kind of an earlier phase, but I have a picture of an alarm clock that I destroyed with a sledgehammer, and I had safety goggles on, and it was in the middle of winter, and went out in my garage, and there was some church things that this is a different church issue than the one I told you about before. But this one would not process. And I was trying all the typical things, all the things on my list, but I set up this alarm clock that we were going to give away. And this is what I wrote about that experience. If you need permission to rage about church things, I give it to you. It's healthy to allow yourself to be honest about the emotions that come up. There is nothing wrong with you or the emotions. It's actually important to listen and find out what is under it. I'm not trying to release it from my body because I dislike it or I fear it, but because the process of moving with the anger is what changes and shapes me. And keeping it in can burn me like fire. When I allow anger to transform, it becomes sovereignty. It's a shiny, smooth black box pressing against the center of my chest, leaving me near breathless, demanding all my attention. It hurts. It keeps pressing in hard. But as I lean in and breathe slowly, accepting and allowing myself to be in it, it transforms into an outpouring of light and power. The energy turns outward from my chest into a peaceful, calm, radiant beam illuminating a path forward. Anger becomes my path to personal sovereignty, highlighting what is truly important for me and strengthening me to step into it. After yelling and crying and smashing the clock to pieces, I drove to the frozen lake, singing to Frozen 2, and connected powerfully with Heavenly Mother and Father. Did you know anger can help you access God? Step into the unknown. I just was reliving that day in my mind and being out there on the ice at the lake afterwards, and how close I felt to God after destroying something and releasing and letting it all go. Was a beautiful moment.
Wow, I love that. Your last question. Did you know anger can bring you closer to God?
Or even open a window to help you access
yeah.
a part that you didn't have.
Yeah. That leads perfectly into the last question that we ask all of our listeners as of late. How has Heavenly Mother changed you?
If I sum it up, probably sovereignty and wholeness, like a more complete self-love and acceptance of me, and then therefore towards so many other people. I'm sad to see how judgmental I was, and as I continue to change, I can't wait to see how less I will become. But there's so much more freedom to really think and speak for myself. I have a short thing, 2 paragraphs that I wrote about my testimony. If you want me to read that,
Please.
If not, I can just. I wrote about my testimony about the mother, and I said, my mother is in me, just as I am part of my mother and my grandmother, and my great-grandmother, and part of my daughters. Heavenly Mother has helped me connect with my ancestral line and heal wounds and learn from their wisdom. Knowing my Heavenly Mother changes everything. I know who I am and who is within me and what my potential is. She taught me to embody complete love for myself and for others, for my physical body and its powerful tiger stretch marks, laugh lines, and wisdom wrinkles and silver highlights in my hair. To love and cherish my quirks and my painful black and white brain, my pains, my emotional sensitivity and drama, the anxiety, depression, OCD, sickness, and irritable bowel and esophagus, my sagging breasts, my squishy stomach and thighs, all of me, because I am divine. I am a woman, a divine woman, a daughter of a goddess. I am able to heal my troubled relationship with the female parts of me, knowing a female God. So many of my pains have come through the female parts of me. And having a female God helped to heal my period and my pregnancies, my births, my nursing, hormone complications. And as I more fully love and accept the female parts of me, I can then really believe in and honor a female God and the female parts of other people. And what a gift it is to stop judging myself and stop living in fear of others, and to let go the layers of shame and judgment and simply connect with people in pure love and acceptance is how I feel whole, knowing my mother.
Thank you so much for sharing that testimony and all of the wisdom that you've given and embodied. I cannot wait to share this episode, and I feel, I connected to it powerfully. I feel like many people will, and so thank you so much for making the time, Jill. It's been a real honor.
Well, I feel just as honored to be here. It feels very tender and sacred. It's a sacred topic.
Thank you for listening. If you've enjoyed this episode, we hope you'll share it. And if you haven't yet, please leave us a review. If you'd like to support the podcast, you can make a monthly donation at anchor.fm/inherimage. We hope you'll tune in next Sunday for another inspiring episode.